Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to be here. I'm very honored to be here. I apologize, my Hanwi is not so good right now. I will learn. Next time I'll be more comfortable with Hanwi.
金总裁非常荣幸今天受到邀请来这里跟大家分享他们公司的经验。下次他会把中文学得更好，要用中文跟大家报告。
I'm really happy to be here at the high-tech center of China, and great people. I had a great conversation after I arrived here, so it's really great. I want to start with something called compliance. Compliance is I know this is not a very common concept, or this is a relatively new concept. It just means that there is a procedure or internal rules that must be followed to make sure there is a full compliance with the law, such as antitrust and IP.
金总裁今天先跟大家分享他们，因为他们是国家知识产权主权基金，运营了有相当长的一段时间，而且是韩国应该是亚洲最早的知识产权运营基金。那么他觉得风险管理跟法规的运营是非常重要的一环，在知识产权运营方面，所以他今天跟大家focus在这个法规上面的一个阴影，比如说反垄断、反倾销法在全球应该怎么样来操作。
How is this relevant to IP? I will make this relevant during my speech, but I think it's best to give you an example.
他说呢，他会从实例上面来跟大家做一个说明，如何把这个法规的阴影跟知识产权结合在一起。
But until very recently, about maybe 5 years ago, there was no compliance department in Korean companies. Now there is compliance department in every major company.
那至于法规因应的这个部门呢，在5年前韩国公司是没有任何一个公司有的，但是现在全球的大公司都有这样一个因应全球区域法规或国内反竞争法的一个法规的这个部门，在这个法务部门里面。
It just means that the company follows every legal rules and regulations. But more importantly, for IP professionals like yourselves, it also means there is IP compliance.
那基本上除了说专利法，还有一般的传统的法律之外呢，知识产权面临的其他的一些区域性的竞争。那这部分呢，他会用实例来跟大家做说明。
Like I promised, I'll give an example. So now everybody knows Apple is in a smartphone market. But Apple, if you remember, was not a smartphone player. They were PC makers about 15 years ago, until 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. Now they are number one in terms of quality and profit. But not too many people know how Apple complied with IP issues and how much preparation they did before they launched into smartphone.
那大家都知道，苹果现在非常成功，但是以前15、20年前，他们基本上只是一个做电脑的公司。那么他们如何进入手机领域？如何在知识产权上面的阴影，然后跟法规上面的阴影来进军引导这个印钱这个新的过去？
While the engineers were developing their first iPhone, their legal professionals, IP professionals to be specific, went around the world forging licensing agreements before they launched their first smartphone.
那他们其实已经在全球在这个知识产权上面的许可的引入上面做了很大的努力，然后才进军手机的这个产业。
Many people just remember there was a big war between Samsung and Apple, but not too many people realize why Apple didn't have a war with Ericsson or Nokia, the two giants at that time.
那大家都知道说，苹果跟三星有很多的这个诉讼，但是大家都也会注意到，其实它跟 Ericsson 跟 Nokia 根本没有诉讼，它要来解释这里面的原因。
That's because Apple compliance officers, IP professionals did a good job before entering global smartphone market, securing license agreements with the telecommunications giants.
因为苹果在弄进他们的手机产业进来之前，他们的授权部门、许可部门，还有他们法规应用部门跟Ericsson 跟 Nokia 其实今天做了很多的一个布局。
In my view, Chinese companies, after I listened to President Wu and other speakers in the morning, I realized the level of awareness in IP in China is very high.
那在今天早上聆听的这个吴校长精彩的演讲，跟各位嘉宾的演讲之后，他了解在中国知识产权的这个意识是非常高的。
In my view, there are two challenges facing Chinese companies. First threat is from global operating companies like, of course, Apple and Qualcomm.
他认为中国的企业目前面临两大威胁，当然首先是外来威胁，像高通或者是苹果这类的大公司。
The second threat is something called NPEs, non-practicing entities. I'm sure you know of this NPE concept.
另外就是一些非运营的一些的公司，想大家已经非常的了解了。
Just to give you an example, in the United States, there are over 3,000 NPEs.
那在美国目前已经有超过3000家的NPE。
And according to World Bank statistics, their IP surplus is in the billions of dollars each year.
那这些公司呢，根据世界银行的一个统计报告，每年的运营的这个金额都超过了100亿的美金
If
以
you
上。
turn your side to Asia, there's, if I remember correctly, there's 5 NPEs in Korea, including Discovery, iDiscovery, about 10 in China, in Japan, and about 15 in China.
那他说的，目前韩国大概有5家非运营的这种 NPE， 在日本大概有15家。那他认为中国目前已经大概有10家做了停驻。
People ask me why. I don't know. But U.S. is most developed, most activated country in terms of IP grounds.
那中国目前是全球知识产权活动最蓬勃的一个区域。
But I know government and everybody is trying to help each other by setting up NPEs, and that's why in Asia there is nothing like sovereign fund, IP fund in the United States, but there's sovereign fund in each country in Asia, in IP Bridge in Japan. Also, there are sovereign funds in China and Korea. I think this is one way government is trying to help the industry against the threats from the NPEs.
那全球每个国家都在努力的防堵这些非运营公司的诉讼。那韩国有比如说他们的公司，那中国也有类似的国家主权基金，日本也有像 IP Bridge， 但是美国其实是没有这样子的一个公司。
I'm going to stop here on NPE and I'm going to turn my speech to my personal experience.
那他现在呢要引用他公司过去运营的经验跟大家做分享，因为他们就是韩国国家主权基
If
金。
you remember Korean from historical perspective, if you remember the semiconductor industry that developed and grew in Korea.
如果大家记得半导体在韩国其实基本上在全球占非常重要的地位。
Historically, there were 2 big waves of IP attacks on Korea's semiconductor industry.
那过去曾经有2次很大重要的冲击他们的半导体产业。
First wave was from the United States.
那第一波是从美国来的。
If you remember, the attacks came from Texas Instruments, Motorola. They are not there anymore. Intel, all these big companies against Korean industry.
那大家记得这个Intel 跟这个德州仪器就是最早一波攻击韩国的半导体产业。
We had to overcome that, but there was a second wave.
那另外有第2波的进攻。
Second wave came from, if you remember, company like NEC, Panasonic, Toshiba.
那第2波就是从刚刚大家听到的 NEC、Toshiba 的这些的日本企业。
We had to overcome that also.
他们也必须要来处理这一类的这个资产的议题。
So it's not just IP, it's not just Apple. The German speakers from respectable speakers from the morning spoke, the IP issues are very important, and I'm very happy to be here. That people who understand the importance of IP.
那他很高兴跟大家分享有关于标准编号专利，还有跟这么多的专业一起来了解探讨这个议题。
I haven't moved my slide yet. I'm very sorry. I'm boring you. So I have a whole slide, but I'm just skipping them because I want to be. Sorry. So on valuation, but I just do this one slide and move on.
他会就用这个投影片跟大家。
This is, if you remember, this was a big company called Notel, located in Canada. They sold their whole company. They had two sales. One their whole company, one just IP, just patents.
那大家记得前几年北森破产的时候，分两批出售他们资产，一部分是他们公司，一部分是知识产权。
So I already gave you an answer. Their whole patent portfolio went for $4.5 billion.
那这批专利是跟入口竞标的价值45亿美元。
I want to share with you that just 1 month before this, there was an auction sales for their entire company, their inventory, their real estate, their building, everything. That went for $3.5 billion.
那最近有一个他说，那就整个公司建筑这些硬体设备呢，大概是30亿美元。
I think this is very surprising to some people that combining everything, real estate, building, inventory, is cheaper than just a bunch of numbers which are patents.
那刚刚的35亿美元是硬体设备，专利却只45亿美元。
So if you allow me, I would like to go to my intellectual discovery company and talk about it.
现在要听他的这个公司的介绍，跟大家分享他们的运营经验。
As I experienced some of the compliance issues and risk hedge mechanism, in my personal opinion, the recent news articles about Xiaomi and maybe there are a certain number of Chinese companies who are very active on risk hedging on the international ground.
他知道现在因为有非常多的公司已经在全球非常的知名，比如说今天在场的小米，那大概在5月份购买夏文润买了1500个专利。
There was a news article that says Xiaomi succeeded in acquiring patent portfolio from Intel and Microsoft.
那小米除了刚刚跟微软最近买了1500个专利之外，之前也跟 Intel 买了很多的专利。
Also, BOE company like BOE is very active. I think it's very wise in hedging the risk and avoiding big war.
那他现在说，其实在这些专利运营方面，很重要就是要避免很多的风险。
So, if you are curious, I will tell you a little bit about intellectual discovery.
那现在要跟大家介绍他们公司的业务范围。
This is organization of intellectual discovery. Intellectual discovery on the right-hand side is the mother company. On the left-hand side, there is a venture capital, and on the lower left side is a hedge fund.
那他们其实是一个集团公司，母公司就是大家看到右手边的 Intellectual Discovery， 另外有两个，一个是 VC， 一个是对冲基金。
They are wholly owned subsidiaries. They are there to help securitize IP portfolio.
他们是帮忙来保障知识产权的这个整个范畴。
We are, if not only company in Korea, but one of the few companies in Korea who actually lend money and finance startups purely based on IP.
那他们是韩国唯一的真的来资助创意、真正运营、真正的来资产化专利知识产权的一个公司。
based on our experience on licensing and IP litigation, we developed ways to evaluate IP in a very accurate way.
那他们非常专长于知识产权的许可、知识产权的诉讼，还有知识产权的价值评估。
When companies satisfy our formula of valuation, we do not hesitate to lend money or finance a startup purely based on IP. What does that mean? It means we don't require collateral like real estate or building.
那他们在投资公司的时候，如果他们看中了这个创意，那么他也接受他们的这个评价方式，那他也不会要求你担保，然后他就全力的来支持你走向国际。
We also acquired a major portfolio from very respectable global companies like IBM and Avago and other big Intel major companies for strategic reasons.
那因为他们过去跟全球的这个经验非常的交流非常久，包括 IBM、Intel 这些大公司也都跟他们合作处理知识产权交易的这个业务。
Like I said in the beginning, I am very happy to be here in Kwang-Jun, and I think this is very important area of China. Somebody mentioned that there are 3 IP dedicated ports in the country: Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. That shows how important Guangzhou is.
那他今天很荣幸能够来到广州跟大家分享。大家在画面上看到的，这是他们公司目前有的这个专利的运营的一个领域。那么他知道广州是广东很重要的一个的地域。然后在中国北京、上海还有这个广州，所以广州显然是非常引领未来整个中国知识产权运营的一个基地。
I had a conversation before coming here with very respectable fellow professors from China, and one of their ambitions was to make China a leader in IP world.
那他来这儿之前，跟很多的中国学者讨论过，他了解中国现在希望成为知识产权的强国。
My response was, somebody said China became #1 in terms of patent filings actually 2 years ago, and became #1 in litigation in terms of number of litigation 1 year.
他说呢，中国在2年前就成为世界专利申请的第1名，在去年已经成为世界诉讼的第1名。
I want to share with you, world already knows about it.
他说全世界都已经
They
关注
are
中国，
watching China.
全球都对中国的动向非常的关切。
And there's something with the smart leadership. I think we can do it. China can achieve its goals, but my response to that was there was an example of some big Chinese enterprise trying to buy Micron technology, but failed.
那在中国印尼的领导的策略之下呢，中国现在目前积极的向全球布局。那但是他前一阵子听到说中国有某个企业想要买美光，但是没有成功。
So my response to why was because they are scared.
他说，因为基于他过去几十年的经验，因为美国怕中国。
So I'd like to find ways to work with you together to help achieve its goals.
他说，其实很多时候转换一个门，友邦的帮忙，是可以达成很多全球布局的。所以呢，他希望他代表韩国能够表达这个诚意，跟中国密切的合作。
I think that you have all the resources you need, and with the smart leadership, I think you can achieve your goals.
他说呢，这个成为知识产权强国，在英明的领导之下，跟中国人才、经济跟这个资源的丰富之下，加上友邦的协助，这个目标应该是很容易可以达成的。
I wish you all the luck. Thank you very much.
他说感谢大家的聆听，如果大家有疑问可以继续。